Okay, now that we've got our main menu all working nicely, the next thing we need to do is set up the level select system that we're going to use to allow us to have multiple different levels that our players can play, so multiple different challenges and stuff like that. But to do that, we're obviously going to need to have some actual levels that we can use and not just the test level we have set up so far. So I'm going to open my test level, and we're going to use this as a basis for our other levels in general. But one thing I want to do is make sure that when we go a little bit further, we're going to add some more elements into our canvas here, and we want anything that we change on the canvas to be carried over into our other levels. So with that in mind, what I'm going to do is make this canvas a prefab, so that if I make a change to it in one scene, any changes I make to that prefab will be carried over into all our other scenes. So otherwise we'd have to go into each level individually and update the canvas one by one, and that's obviously not great. So let's go to our prefabs folder, and I'm going to create a folder called level bits. This is for bits that we'll use on multiple levels that we want to keep updated. So I'm going to first of all rename this to just be the UI canvas. And that should be UI canvas, that's what I meant to say. Let's put this in here then as a prefab. So now when we go into other levels, we'll be able to use that again. Now the board here is going to be in all our levels, but it's not something that we need to keep the same on all of them, because we're going to want to have boards of different sizes on different levels, and we might want to have different gems be available in different levels and things like that. So we're not going to make that a prefab. And the same with the realm manager is pretty generic. All we're going to do on each individual level is change the values, so we don't really need to make that a prefab either. You're more than welcome to, but we don't really have to. And the same with the match finder, again, that doesn't need to be prefab because it just does its own little job within the scene. Okay, so let's save this. Also, I should just say here, we have the event system as well. This is something that's automatically created by the UI canvas. Whenever you create a UI canvas, it creates an event system, and that's what controls you being able to navigate around and things like that between objects on your UI. So you always need to have an event system in your scene, but we will have one here with our UI canvas no matter what. So now that we have that set up, first thing we're going to do is save this test level as a new level. So I'm going to go to File, Save As, and we're going to save it in a new folder that we're going to call Levels. And I'm just going to call this L1 for level 1. So that's fine. This is going to be our first level that we'll use in the game. We can stick with that one for now. Obviously, when you make your own game, you'll probably want to do a bit more thought into the level design and things like that, and which gems you're using in each level and things. But we're just keeping it nice and simple here. But what I am going to do is make another level. So I'm going to save scene levels, and this time I'm going to save this one as L2. So in level 2 we're going to make it slightly different. Let's go to our board here. We're going to make it be a 5x5 board with only 4 potential gems, and all that bomb chance stuff that's all perfectly fine. But with a different size board, we need to adjust the view that we have over here. So if I just play here now, our gems all fit into this area here, so we don't want that. So instead what we're going to do to make it easy for us to visualize it, we're going to put the width here at 5x5, and then we're going to put the position here at half the width and height minus 0.5, so that's 2.5 minus 0.5, which is 2. So we'll put that there like so, and we're going to do the same on these other blocks. So we're going to put this at 2 and 2, and I'm just going to put them at 5 and 5 as well for a second, and then we're going to say 5.2, 0.2, and then 0.4 and 0.4. Okay, and with that done, then we have our camera. Let's move our camera into the correct position also. So scale it. Oh, sorry. What I did there was grab the handles here. I should probably say this before I do anything. Is grab the handles here, and what that does is the same as using adjusting the size here. You can just grab the handle and it'll shrink it down like so. So then we can move it into roughly the position that we want to have it. And there we go. Now we have our grid roughly back where we had it before. But now when we play, we've got our full big massive version of the grid, so we can see it at full size. Okay, so that's perfect. We've now got 2 levels that we can use in our game. Now we need to set up the system that will allow us to browse between those levels. And actually, just before we do that, I'm going to make sure I add to my build settings both of those levels. So let's go to our scenes, levels, and I'm going to click and drag each one of those into the build settings. Okay, so as I said, next thing we need to do is make it so that we can get to those levels.